Welcome to Americana Quill, Writer to Writer. Please like and subscribe and tell a friend that likes to subscribe. Today I have the pleasure of talking to a young man that I've known since college, and he chose a career path that I believe is similar to a motivational speaker, as both mediums of writing forces you to try and keep the attention of an audience. You might have guessed from what I'm already saying, but yes, he chose to become a comedian. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome athlete that I played with and playing lacrosse, Kyle Laliberte. How you doing, man?
What's going on? How are you? I'm good.
I'm good, man. I'm just, happy to do this. I'm happy you had time for us, to do this podcast. Although
Of
I'm still
course.
new at it,
I'm
it's,
glad to be on the show.
no, thank you, man.
Yeah.
So, what made you choose, I guess, the path of wanting to become a comedian? I guess because when you go to like a serious school like we did, you don't think of like maybe making that a career path. So, like, what made you choose that?
Right. Man, I had tried doing different things. Like after college, I went to college mainly for sports.
Mhm.
After that, I actually tried out for a few semi-pro hockey teams. Didn't work out for me. I kind of bounced around from there, trying different jobs, different opportunities that came my way and didn't really work out. And then I was actually growing medical marijuana up in Maine for about a year with a partner, but then it ended up flipping around when they switched the laws to recreational, and I got cut as a partner to as an employee, and that's not what I left my first job for. So I
Mm,
was at a very low point in my life, and I just honestly reevaluated everything that I wanted to do, and what I really enjoy doing is just making people laugh, even though we have a really messed up world right now. We all need an
yeah,
outlet somewhere, so um, I just thought, where do most comedians strive? Right in our lowest lows. So I said, "Fuck it, let's
that's
get on
true.
stage."
No, that's beautiful,
Um,
man. Because you're a very optimistic person. So to hear that you felt this way is very interesting to me for sure. Like even when we played
yeah, I
lacrosse, like
always
if there
try to
was
stay positive.
right, you always try to find like the good side of things, like So like it's interesting that all these obstacles came to you and you felt like you had to pivot so many times, which is interesting to me. So thank you for
Yeah.
even sharing that because I'm sure that's not easy, but I'm sure you build yourself as a comedian on stage all the time. So this isn't the first time you probably spoke about it for sure.
No, for sure. Uh, yeah, I mean, being a comedian definitely helps with an outlet to speak my mind, but also let people in on my life as well. But shedding light and being able to laugh about it, it helps me heal as well as face these problems head on.
Right. So you kind of answered my first question, but I guess a part of the first question I had that you probably didn't answer yet is with limited places to perform and stay sharp is like what are you doing right now to like keep your
Uh,
comedic timing, I guess, going.
right. I've tried some Zoom shows at the beginning of the COVID quarantines, and it
Oh
just
God.
doesn't have the same feel, man. It was terrible.
Yeah. A lot of like
uh,
bigger names, not that you're not a big name, but a lot of like veterans, I guess is the better word to use. They said they tried it maybe one
Definitely.
time and they felt like it was the worst thing they ever could have attempted. So I guess
Yeah,
you
dude,
yeah,
it was awful. Like I'd rather eat shit in front of 100 people than do well on a Zoom show.
right.
It's just a weird feeling.
Yeah. I could only imagine like you
It,
just like having to talk to your monitor and you're probably waiting for a response from somebody or a laugh and you're not getting it. They might even find it funny,
no,
but they're not going to tell you like, and they're not going to type it in. Hey, that was
yeah,
funny. Like so, can only imagine.
it's difficult. So I mean, I've been trying to just keep on writing, either writing anything, just free writing, writing poetry, writing jokes, whatever it be, just write about what's going on, just to keep that flow going. Um, but other than that, I haven't really performed in over a year about now, and I'm
Mm,
going crazy with it. But I'm ready to
Yeah.
get back on stage.
So how long have
Get
you
in
been
front of some
doing?
people.
How long have you been doing comedy before this year of elapsed? I guess it's almost like a sabbatical. If you was like back
I
at
was
school.
right. And I'm nervous definitely to get back on stage.
Yeah.
But it's been about I was about a year and a half in before they got all locked up.
Oh, so you was new, still catching
So
your
I'm still
timing,
fairly
still doing your thing,
yeah.
understanding how
Still
to
trying to
work the
find my voice on the
crowds.
stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I, it's a blast though. I've performed probably a handful of times over at Comedy Works downtown in Denver.
Mhm.
And that was the first time over there. It was the first time I performed in front of over 100 people, and it was intense, but it was so much fun. Uh, it was so nerve wracking when you first hit the stage. You see
Right.
everybody just staring at you, and then you
Right.
get that first break of laughter, and then you start flowing.
Right. So what was like one of the first premises of a joke you were thinking about before like your first stage performance? Was it in Colorado where you moved to for a little bit, or is it back like in the New England
Uh,
area where you had your first like show that you
when I
tried to?
my very my very first set was in Somerville, Mass. It was on my
Okay.
way out of New England. This is when I decided that this is when I left everything behind in New Hampshire. I packed up my car with whatever I could fit in there. I decided I was going to do a road trip, travel around the country, try and find a place that I enjoyed. I made my way down the East Coast. I stopped in Somerville, Mass, to see some friends on the way out, and I hit an open mic. And I got like 2 minutes into my set, and that was as long as I could do. It was nerve wracking as all hell. And the joke
Was it
was about the premise was kind of about trying I don't even remember exactly. It was about really trying comedy, but it was such a weak joke, man. It was so bad. But
did you
we all
get a
need to take
few
that first step.
a few laughs though, or did you get no? How did why did it only last 2 minutes? Is that the only time
I
you
got
had, or
no. You usually get about 5 minutes on an open mic, um, but I thought I wrote the joke out. I tried running it through my head, and I thought it was like 4 or 5 minutes. But when I got on stage, it's a whole other story. You kind of just burn through it because you don't know that timing. You don't know the feeling of what a minute is, what 3 minutes are.
right?
So I kind of burned through it. I got a couple pity laughs because I think they knew
It was your first
that
time.
same feeling that I was having on stage. Yeah.
Hmm.
um, and
Yeah.
I was actually too nervous to even sign up on the list. I waited till like there was like 5 comics left, and I went up to the host. I said, "Yo, is it all right if I hop on right now?" And he let me get on, and I tried doing it. I thought I did well because I got a couple pity laughs. I left there,
Do you find it to be pity
and
laughs, or you think they liked the joke, but it wasn't what you were expecting? If it really hit now the way they hit now.
I I don't know if they were pity laughs or if it was just they were laughing at how uncomfortable I was up there because I
Actually,
definitely was stiff as a board. As soon as that light hit me, I had the mic in my hand. I stiffened right up.
yeah,
And like
but
the only thing moving was my hand shaking. It was too funny.
the interesting thing is you seem like an introvert, so you actually stepping out of your shell, I feel like was truly you stepping on that mic that first day. So to me, that's beautiful. You get me? Because although we knew you in the locker room, I never
Right.
saw you as the very loud personality. So it's interesting to say you stepped up to that mic to do that. You get me? So that's beautiful because I don't know if that like I wasn't necessarily a vocal person either. I wouldn't picture myself doing a podcast. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we're
Yeah.
kind of both in the same boat where we're like branching out, but it's more of
Yeah.
it's like, all right, let's see if we like it, and if we do it kind of enough, hopefully we get good and we'll keep going, kind of thing. You know? So
Exactly. Um, yeah, I don't know. I've always been really closed off and had a tight group of friends and just kind of hung out with
right,
them.
right,
But for some reason, I've always realized I kind of thrive in being in uncomfortable situations.
got it. That makes sense.
So I was just like, let's just throw myself up there, half prepared, not really knowing what I'm doing. and let's just go get this.
I think the cool thing is you know, to you, you probably thought the worst thing they could say is that it wasn't funny, and it's okay because it's my first time. Like it wasn't. You didn't have the same type of pressure. Your pressure was just stepping up on stage. Where for someone else, is like they felt like they had to be funny at that moment. You know, you're still getting your chops up, and they may never have to see you again because you're leaving town anyway. So like,
exactly,
it's perfect to be honest.
Yeah, and if anyone's ever thinking about doing it, like no matter how much you can prepare for it, you're never prepared for that first time.
Right.
Not until you get that feeling of being on stage in front of people, you can actually prepare for it.
No, that makes sense. So before, what was your writing style then, and what's your writing style now? Like, what was the first thing you did to like kind of remember the premise? Like, you wrote out the whole joke so you could memorize it. How did you do it?
My first joke, I tried writing out completely, tried like revising it, going through it, seeing how that went, but then that didn't work out for me. Now I kind of just write down a premise, get an idea of where the cue points that I want to hit, and then just try and punch it up while I'm kind of on stage going with it. Or if I come up with a good punchline, I try to work to there. But yeah, it's a weird science. Like,
yeah, is it like a bulletin points like you do more than like an actual premise? Like, I want to hit these points, and I got to make sure this connects the dots somehow, kind of.
A little bit like that, but
Okay.
I mean, I'll kind of have a pretty set premise. Like, I don't know exactly. I don't have any on hand, but I'll pretty much have like, this is the way I want to go with the joke. These are the points I want to hit. You have to have a setup so it's clear, so everyone understands what you're going with, but then you have to hit them with some sort of surprise, really.
Right.
And that's usually what like gets them to laugh, is you catch them off guard. They see you going one way and you go the other.
That's true. It's a different form of storytelling. That's why I'm so interested. You're my first comedian on, by the way. So like just to hear like the whole concept of how you construct your story to tell things is amazing to me.
Yeah, I'm more of a one-liner, set up punchline kind of guy right now. Storytelling is real hard to get down for comedy wise. I've tried a few like story jokes, but it just feels like they drag on before I get to anything funny.
Right. It's like, how do you find funniness within setting up for the bigger laugh, I guess, right? It's probably why you feel that way.
Yeah. That and like things that can be funny to you and your friends aren't funny to everybody because they don't know your tendencies. They don't know your character.
I think that comes with time when you break into it. Right. So is this like your crowds, or like, is it your crowds, or these are like open mics right now somewhat? And that's why you don't, that's why you can't do your story jokes.
Open mics.
That makes sense though, right?
Open mics right now. Yeah. I've done a handful of actually paid shows, got like $5-10 here and there. And my longest set I've done is 15 minutes, and that was a blast. I had a lot of fun doing it, but I've been trying to build connections in Denver and work my way onto more shows here, but since it's been closed down, it's been hard to work my way into that.
No, that makes sense. And I'm not talking about necessarily being paid or not. It's more of once you really find your audience, I think then you can do storytelling jokes more, you know? Like, I feel like it's hard to do that when you're like a new guy and a new face to everyone. It's like, all right, are you funny? Let's see. Like, that's kind of the energy they probably come in with. So therefore you're like, all right, I gotta hit every time. Like, I can't even set up a joke. I'm not even in that position yet to like set up jokes and do those things that you probably will want to do eventually. Cause I'm sure they're funny, but it's like, no one's gonna give you the time of the day if they don't know you, which sucks.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of the times at open mics, it's just comedians performing for other comedians.
Right.
So you got half the audience just watching, trying to do their jokes, listening what they got going on.
Half of them is heckling because they think it's funny.
They're not really interested in you.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's interesting. Excuse me. So
of course, no
we
problem.
talked about how you structured writing comedian. Okay. So who are your influences when it comes to comedy, like, and just overall life right now?
Growing up, I was a big fan of Jim Brewer was great. I always thought Dave Chappelle was always amazing. Uh, Rodney Dangerfield was a big influence. He's funny. Current comedians, one of my favorites, Tom Segura.
Okay.
But, yeah,
Those are
I've
some heavy
tried to.
hitters. And do you feel like any of them
Yeah,
fit? You feel like any of them fit your style though, of how you do comedy right now, or like, or you're like in the mold of any of these comedians? Because Dave is very much a storytelling
uh,
person at this point, but at one point he was very punchliney though too in the beginning, to me at least.
right. Um, I don't really feel like I fit in any of those categories, if any, closer to the Rodney Dangerfield style where it's set up punch, set up punch.
Hmm.
Um, and he just keeps going with those.
Right.
But I would love to work my way into being able to story tell some longer term style jokes like Jim Brewer and Tom Segura and stuff. But
Yeah, I think that comes with the minutes you get
it's
on
not
stage
that
though
easy.
too. Yeah, that's like for 5 minutes you gotta hit them with hit. You can't just have one joke for 5 minutes. Like that's not, that doesn't help anyone.
Right,
So I can only imagine.
right. Because you lose the crowd by the time you're 3, 4 minutes in if you haven't had a laugh.
Right. That makes sense.
They like the whole strategy mainly for me is when I get on stage, I try to open strong, you get them on my side, and then after you kind of win them on your side, you can kind of get away with more stuff that's either iffy or you're working on it, and they'll side with you because they're like, oh, all right, he had a good opener, he's funny, I'll give him that. That was pretty funny. And then if you end strong, they remember you. They're like, oh, he killed it at the end.
Right.
I remember that guy.
So
So
not
that's
that you
the
can
main goal when I get up there.
right. So not that you necessarily read books to become a better comedian, but like, is there any books that influence you to like take that leap of faith of like wanting to like just go out on the journey and say, you know what, let me just try this, like,
Uh,
or like something
I've
about
read
like just going for it, like a goal of like a book that's like just about going for a dream or a goal. Like, is there any books you read that like made you
I've
feel
read some
inspired?
books. I've read a couple books that's kind of helped me with writing comedy, but nothing that's really like pushed me to go and do it.
Do,
I've always
right.
found self inspiration to always try to be better or push myself further, try to do more.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, because for me, what made me want to write was like the book The Alchemist. It has nothing to do with writing, but it's like about a shepherd boy like going for what he thought was his, right? And what he wanted was always
Yeah,
within him. So it's like something like that is like, I guess why I asked you that question. It's like it doesn't have to even be about comedy. It's just like a particular book that made you realize like that could have been you in the story, and the obstacle wasn't really what they talked about, but like the big moral of the story is why I'm asking you. So no,
right.
that's pretty cool.
It, it's been a fun adventure so far, and keep I hope to keep down this path and keep growing and stick with it.
Yeah. So before you told me you might either like try to move before we started recording, excuse me, you talked about possibly Texas. Do you know where you're thinking about of moving
Right
to,
now,
or doing a road trip or whatever?
right, I got a couple friends in Austin that live down there. That I'd like to maybe go down there, check out their comedy scene, try it out. I mean, right now, Austin is booming for the comedy branch
Right.
because obviously Joe Rogan just moved out
I was
there.
just,
He's
I was
opening
just
up
about to
his
say
own
that.
club.
Yeah.
um, but I have a cousin that lives out there that's trying to hook me up with a job out in Austin. So if I can land that, I would go there. But I'd be open to San Antonio or Houston. I visited out there, and they were fun places while I was there.
Right. So what's the journey like, I guess, of like, how do you become great at a craft you couldn't practice so far for a year? Like, what are you able to do? Like for me, if I'm not writing, I could read, and for some reason that helps me get better. You know, it's like game tape. You know, so like, what's
Right.
like your game tape
Yeah.
as a comedian?
Just trying to stay consistent with writing, either premises, jokes, punchlines, or just any sort of writing to stay sharp with the creativity.
Hmm.
And try to read some stories that's going on in the world, like find satire with the life that's all this crazy craziness that's happening.
So much so, yeah.
Um,
That's pretty interesting
and
too,
it's
right?
it's hard to find a fine line where you're not stepping on people's toes to because they're so quick to cancel out here. It's crazy.
In
Um,
Colorado,
like I
or
got kicked
just
off, yeah, in Colorado, but in general, I feel like everyone's still in this cancel culture and doesn't give people a chance to try jokes that might be edgy, but they never got the opportunity to
to see if they
fine
would
tune
work?
it.
Right.
Right.
It's almost like you got to record it to yourself and then listen to it and be like, is this breaking any rules? Do you mind
Right.
saying kind of what the joke was about, where people got so offended?
The whole premise of the joke was that context matters.
Uh-huh.
So I'd open the joke up with just saying the word retard with no context. And then I'd get everybody real tight. I'd let that tension build. And then I'd try and break that tension with saying, if you find that offensive, that's on you because there was no context on that. All retard means is something slowing your progress and achievements and goals and growth, whatever it is. Like, I have a retarded penis. Or no, sorry, that's not it. It's like my joke writing is retarded due to my day job. And they didn't even let me get close to that before they were like, get off stage. And it's just like, come on, guys.
Yeah, I think it's if you were a vet, they wouldn't let you finish the whole joke. They wouldn't even stop you for no effort, and which sucks, right? It's because like I'm trying to get my chops up and do these different things, like and expand myself, but I'm being limited because y'all have feelings inside of a comedy club, which is weird. Because
Right.
back when we were kids, they didn't give a about anyone's feelings when it came to like the comedy, like, and it was highly offensive to
No.
everyone. But like, you didn't want to be the first one to leave, like. So that's
Right.
very, yeah,
And
that's
like,
crazy.
I'm not I'm not one to directly be offensive just to be offensive.
Right.
I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings on purpose. I write my jokes for myself for an outlet and I hope that whoever enjoys them enjoys them. I'm not trying to please everyone.
Right. Were you able to try that joke more than once? Or it was only one time and you got taken off the stage and that was that?
I only tried it once out in Denver and I got taken off stage. I didn't try it again. But I originally came up with that joke when I first started comedy in the Gulf Coast, like Mobile, Alabama,
Mhm.
Pensacola, Florida. That's where I started.
And it
Um,
went well over there?
yeah, like it was a little iffy. Some people, I think I had to work on it for sure, but they would let me try it, and I'd still get some laughs by the end of it.
Right. So when you almost had it mastered here is when they told you, you know what, get it out of here.
Yeah, and the worst part was like after I got off stage, there was some guys at the bar that were like, "Hey, why'd you get off stage? That joke wasn't even bad. I thought it was pretty funny." And then I told them I got kicked off. Like, what? Really? So it's just weird.
You know
It's a
what it
weird
is?
fine
Some
line of
people might
like,
have children that they think is retarded. So when that comes up, it's an emotional trigger for them.
right,
Instead of letting you finish the joke where they could see where your context was going and be like, okay, he didn't go where I thought he was going. Thank God, because then I would have felt some type of way, you know. So
right,
people don't even
exactly.
give you that. But I guess because it's like the N word. I don't want to hear that come out your mouth. So I understand. I guess someone else say, no, that's
Right.
not cool. But context does matter, and I like that premise. So you should definitely maybe you got to say that in the beginning just to like get them ready for it, and then just say the word,
Right.
and then go into it.
Right. And then I kind of switched after I did the retard bit and I went to, it was still the context matters. I'd switched over to the word midget. Like all midget means is abnormally small. And then I
Right.
just went, like, I have a midget penis. And
Right.
so I put it on myself to try and break that tension and just make fun of myself.
But
I
you were
was
gonna do that
unnecessary.
regardless, though, with like the other word. They're just gonna let you get it there with your other stuff. So that's what's crazy. So I like that you
Yeah.
do self-deprecating things though, because like that's not easy to do. It's like a lot of people are much rather make fun of someone else, but at least you make fun of yourself and maybe a few of your friends. You know, like it's nothing crazy. At least from what I
Yeah.
saw.
Yeah. I try to make fun of myself more than anybody else because, like, you can't really get mad at me because it's me. If anybody's going to
Right.
be mad, it should be me.
Right. How you gonna get mad at
So
somebody
I'm
making fun of
completely okay
themselves?
with it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, definitely. So how would you incorporate viewers into your set? Do you do that? Do you like ask them questions and they kind of feed off their energy sometimes, or you keep it solely on like what's written and just tell your jokes?
Uh, I'll go off a crowd's reactions. If like I get like ooh or like it's kind of like they're appalled, I'll point at that fact that ooh maybe you guys didn't like that or something silly to lighten that pressure of
Right.
getting them mad at me. I don't try and berate any of the audience. I
The,
don't do too much crowd work outside of that, but I know there's some people that could do a whole set with just interacting with the audience,
right.
but I just feel like that's kind of a shortcoming of your actual writing ability.
True. So how do you memorize a lot of your material? Like, do you study it on like index cards? Like, or like, what's that? How do you do that? Because it's almost like acting, like memorizing lines, like a monologue. So like, how do you do it?
When I first started, I had a bunch of index cards, and I'd actually bring them up on stage with me. Um,
Uh,
but from there, I've stepped away from doing any of that. I try to memorize all the points and important lines that I need to hit, with
mhm.
trying to add things in between to make the joke better or extend it and add more to them.
Mm,
And that's just I'd be doing one or two open mics a night. Just repetition would get the memory of
yeah.
them.
Because I know a lot of comedians have like a small little notebook they keep like in their pockets and like they'll scratch something if it's really
Yeah.
bad, like, all right, that didn't go well kind of thing. So that was interesting that
Right.
you use index cards to like memorize your monologues and things like that. So who are your, well, I already asked that question. How would you combat heckling? Like, have you ever had to deal with like a heckler and you had to like combat that with like maybe making fun of them to get them to calm down?
Right. I haven't dealt with any hecklers yet. I'm a little nervous
Oh,
about it the first time I come across one. But I've noticed through seeing other people get heckled that the crowd is on your side and not the heckler's side, unless you're
right,
obviously doing terrible.
right. So it's like if you entertain
So
it, then they'll,
usually, yeah. So usually you have the power to be like, all right, dude, like everyone's here, not for you, or
right.
I don't try and just shit all over them because then you can kind of get the crowd to turn on you, and
Mhm.
it's a fine line to play.
Is this what someone taught you when you were like doing your stand up, or is it something you noticed like through observation? Like, if you don't give it that much energy, people redirect attention back on you, kind of thing?
Yeah, kind of observational. I think somebody had told me that the crowd is on your side, so if you do want to attack the heckler, you're all in all rights too, and the crowd will usually side with you unless you just start to go straight hateful.
Mm,
But so just try to make it light and tell them to like shut up, dude.
right. That makes sense. So when you hammered out your first 5 to 10 minutes, What was the response after you worked out and started to use that material more often? Not the very first time, but like when you like really got a true 5 minute set down. What was that reaction? What was that feeling like
Right.
to know like I got a good 5 minutes?
After there's a couple of weeks that I was doing like a similar 5 minute set with kind of shuffling in new jokes in the middle at an
Mhm.
open mic in Pensacola, Florida. And after I got it, like a pretty fine tuned five, the host came up to me. He's like, "Hey man, you have some good writing. Would you like to do this show for me next Friday or whenever it was to do?" I think it was 7 minute guest spot, and I was exhilarated. I was so thrilled, and it was a blast. I was just so happy to have made it far enough to be able to use a solid 5 minutes or 7 minutes in a show where I know it's going to work.
Right. So where do you think you are now with your writing? Are you up to like a good 10 minutes of like solidified material right now? 15 minutes? Like where do you feel like you are at?
I think I could do a solid 15 to 20, somewhere around there.
That's pretty good because that's like
Altitude.
standard for openers, right? It's like 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, a
No,
solid like
that's
host
really good.
set or opening set.
Right. I don't know the terminology, so excuse me if I'm saying the wrong things.
No, you're good. There's like feature sets are usually like 15 minutes, I think, and that's like the guy that goes up before the headliner.
Right. So no, that's pretty good that you feel like you have a good 15 to 20 minutes you could do. I guess it would be amazing when you get to memorize the whole hour, right? And like everyone's for you. So that's pretty cool.
That would be scary. Yeah, that's a lot of material to remember.
Oh, but I think you're so dedicated by just you moving away to like figure this out that it's like nothing's gonna stop you. It's just a matter of time, you know?
Right. Just
So
keep trying to put one foot forward.
that's all you can do, man. Is just put one step forward and just keep moving, keep it going.
I had like family ask me if I wanted to do comedy in Boston, so I'd be closer to home and stuff. And I was just like, that's the reason why I didn't do comedy in Boston, is because it's too close to home. I'd have too many excuses to easily go hang out with my friends, go have distractions or whatever it be.
Right. Do you feel like this has been your most focus of years because of you like being away from like what you're comfortable with and like you have a clear
Yeah,
purpose?
I think it's definitely helped with that for sure. Have a clear vision to what I would like to do and really focus more on that, definitely.
Nice. So usually what I ask my guests is like what's the last book you might have read, fiction or nonfiction? And if you could just tell us a little bit about it and what you like so far about it, if you like the book at all.
All right. Let me think. What was the last book I read? I was halfway through Artist's Way, which is like a creativity book to help with keeping that creativity flowing. And
Yeah. So what they give
I
you tips
haven't
and
quite
insight?
finished it yet.
That's fine.
It's kind of helped me with making sure I write every day and stay on top of that, because if you don't, you definitely lose that some of that creativity, and you have to get it back if
Right.
you take too long off. And it's also helped me realize that it's okay to go do other things with freedom, otherwise go skiing, go do whatever, have
Yeah.
life experiences
It
other than
helps with
just stay
creativity.
focused. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you could get burnt out from staying dead focused on one thing only and never veer off of that. You need some little escape from that as well.
No, yeah, that's like me. I feel like I'm getting burnt out of just writing books and waiting for results to come. So I'm definitely taking like a year and a half, 2 years off of me writing a lot, but like maybe writing blogs here and there to stay
Right.
sharp. But like to write a book every year consistently, it's been a lot. So it's like I'm about to take some time off. And since I'm releasing about 7 books, and 2 of the books by the time this comes out will be out. Yeah, like
Oh, nice.
yeah, I'm definitely taking a break. Even though I won't feel like it because there'll be so much reading
Yeah.
material out there. But like for me, it would be like a
Right.
real break, you know, where I'm just doing the podcast and like just moving forward and not just trying to live life and like getting new experiences. So when I'm back to writing again, I have something even better to talk about. So I totally get living your life,
Yeah.
stay connected to your creativity for sure.
Yeah. I think that's been a big help to keep going and not get too bogged down or down on yourself about these things where you're like, oh, I'm not writing enough. I'm not coming up with jokes fast enough. I don't have
Mhm.
enough. It's just, you can easily get down on yourself way too quick.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So before we head out of here, I just want to ask you, what's like one or two good tips that you can give to people that is trying to think of how to be creative, a creative writer as a comedian? Because even you could be a screenwriter that's funny, but it's hard to do it on stage. So like, what's like a tip of like a writing tip that you can give in the comedic space for anyone?
Don't get down on yourself. Keep pushing through any doubts you have. And stay writing. Either it doesn't matter what kind of writing, just free write jokes, whatever it is. Even if you have nothing to write about what you did that day. Anything to get those wheels turning,
Right.
and just keep powering forward.
No, thank you for that. And I really appreciate you coming on. So usually I do a quote of the week and lyrics of the week, depending on what I think about the guest. So a quote of the week is from Jerry Seinfeld, since I'm dealing with a comedian now. So I figured I'd do that. So the quote is, a
Right
bookstore is one of the only pieces of physical evidence we have that people are still thinking. And Jerry Seinfeld is a very much of a thinker comedian. So that makes sense coming from him, that type of a quote. And then for lyrics of the week, I picked out Gym Class Heroes 7 weeks. Because I feel like whenever I think of comedians, I think they got to do like the craziest road trips, like just to like make their living. You hear about them always like booking up their weekends to like doing 10 to 15 shows in a weekend. Like that's a lot. So I picked out the
yeah.
lyrics of the week from Gym Class Heroes called 7 weeks, which is about them like kind of traveling and like dealing with whatever's coming up on the road. So the verse goes like this: tired boys with weird eyes exposing imperfections to the public eye. We're perfect. I'm like this, even if we don't look back again. I like these hotels, passports, random bag checks, daydreams of love affairs that I haven't had yet. Touchdown, baggage claim, new town, different dame. Same clothes, 7 days when damn, ooh, damn, I need things to change. And it's a lifestyle I wouldn't recommend. Walling out on a level Nick Cannon couldn't comprehend. F out of here. We made a lot of friends and even more enemies, some of which were genuine and others just pretend to be. Soft raving baby, life's lovely, even when the gray rain clouds right above me. The girl's texting me talking about getting all cuddly. Could you paint a pretty picture, but the frame is so ugly? So if you heard the whole song, I'm sure you probably heard that song before, I imagine. And with that
Yeah.
song, it's just the whole idea about road tripping. It just doesn't sound like the most fun of life. And I feel like you doing your own driving to like hit all these towns, although you might have enjoyed the experience, I'm sure in the moment there was moments of frustration and like, oh, what the hell am I? Why did I decide to do this? So I just wanted to
For sure.
dedicate that verse to you because I can only imagine doing that for myself.
Right on. Thank you. Yeah,
No, no problem, man.
it's definitely, sometimes you sit there, wait 3-4 hours just to do 5 minutes, and then
Mm.
go home at 1 in the morning. So it can be a
So,
struggle to
right.
push through that, but just keep reminding yourself why you do it, and there's got to be light at the end of the tunnel somewhere.
Absolutely. So, Kyle, I want to say thank you again for doing this. If you could give everyone your social media and stuff, that'd be great.
All right, yeah. I think my Facebook is just Kyle Laliberte. My Instagram, I think, is Kyle J Laliberte. I don't have a Twitter or anything.
Did I always say your name wrong? I'm so sorry. It's not. How do you want to
No,
say
it's
it?
all right. I was saying it wrong for 28 years. When I finally got on stage, I listened to a YouTube video of some lady pronouncing my last name, and that's how I finally got it down. I'm trying to actually pronounce
Oh,
it the proper, like, French way of Laliberte. There's like, you can roll an R into it a little more, but I don't
Laliberte.
know. I'm not
Oh,
that
wow.
French.
Right.
Yeah,
So you're French from your dad's side, I suppose, because that's an interesting name.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. French on my dad's side and Italian on my mom's side.
nice. Because I kept on saying Laliberte, and then that's just what you say it now. I'm like, yo, I've been saying his name wrong this whole time.
Dude, it took me 28 years to say it right. No
No,
worries.
okay. So, Kyle, thank you again for doing this. This has been Americana Quill, Writer to Writer. Take care, guys.
Thank you so much.